Today, we're diving into a quiet but massive shift that's happening right under our noses. It's about the exhaustion of a generation and what their silence is truly telling us about the future.
It all starts with this one powerful idea. If you really want to see where a society is heading, you don't look at the politicians or the stock market. You look at its young people. And maybe, just maybe, the most important signal isn't what they're shouting about, but what they've quietly stopped believing in.
And that right there brings us to the central puzzle. Given all the challenges young people are facing today, the real mystery is the silence. Why aren't they louder? Why aren't they angrier? We've got this image in our heads, right, of youth as this time of rebellion. Loud, restless, always pushing back. Past generations would argue with institutions, they'd protest them, because deep down they actually believed they could force them to change. But today, that energy has been replaced by something totally different, a deep, profound exhaustion, and a quiet withdrawal from the whole game. This is the big question. And the answer isn't just simple apathy or laziness. The source we're looking at argues that this silence is actually a very rational response to a fundamental breakdown in the social contract. And it all starts with one single broken promise. So here's our first major clue: the collapse of a core belief. It's the idea that if you just work hard enough, if you just try hard enough, the system will eventually reward you. I mean, this is the deal, right? The bedrock promise of any modern competitive society. You study hard, you work diligently, and in return, you'll get a life of stability and dignity. But what happens when that promise starts to feel less like a guarantee and more like a lottery ticket? You can see this promise crumbling in real time, especially when the stakes are super high, like in competitive exams. It's just a constant barrage of uncertainty. Think about it. Constant reforms mean the goalposts are always moving, exam leaks make the whole process feel rigged. All of this just chips away, piece by piece, at the belief that your own effort is what really matters. And this right here is the absolute key. This isn't about a generation that's afraid of hard work. Not at all. They are willing to put up with incredible difficulty. What they can't stand, what they object to, is a system that feels random, unfair, and unreliable, where the rules can just change on a whim and all their hard work can suddenly count for nothing. Now, this feeling of unreliability, it doesn't just stop with exams. Nope, it scales up into a much bigger, much more structural problem within the economy itself.
This chart pretty much says it all. You've got a flood of educated, ambitious graduates pouring out of universities, but the number of secure, stable, dignified jobs just isn't keeping up. It creates this intense bottleneck, a systemic squeeze where way more people are fighting for way fewer rewards.
And of course, every young person starts out with ambition. They're told to dream big, to work hard, to go for it. That's the fuel that gets them through years of studying and stress.
But when that ambition slams into the hard reality of that bottleneck, it starts to change. It curdles into anxiety. And what's worse, the system frames this as a personal failure. If you don't make it, it's not because the system is saturated. No, it's because you just weren't good enough.
And that leads us to a really critical piece of this puzzle. It's a process of taking this huge systemic pressure and reframing it as a series of private, individual problems.
Let's just walk through the cycle because it's so important for understanding the silence. First, the system creates all this pressure and distress. But then that distress is treated like it's your own personal mental health issue. It's your burnout, your anxiety. It's not seen as a political problem. And this creates a stigma. Speaking out won't get you solutions, it'll just get you a label. So what's the last logical step? Silence. You just disengage.
This right here is the heart of it. If my exhaustion is just my personal burnout, then I have no real reason to demand a change in the system. I just need to, work on my coping skills. By framing a massive collective problem as a million individual ones, the pressure for any real reform just evaporates.
So let's put all these clues together. You've got the broken promise, the opportunity bottleneck, and this individualization of suffering. They all lead to one big conclusion: the silent fracture. So this is what the silence really is. It isn't laziness, and it isn't apathy. The source calls it a rational adaptation, a smart, calculated response to a system that just doesn't seem to care about your effort. So you conform on the surface, you play along, but you no longer actually believe in the game.
And here's what that withdrawal looks like in the real world. It's tuning out of public debates, it's pouring all your energy into an escape plan like migration instead of trying to fix things where you are. It's using irony and cynicism as a shield so you don't get disappointed again. And it's showing up, doing the work, but with your heart and your mind completely checked out. Now, why does this matter so much? Because there is a world of difference between anger and indifference. A society can handle anger. It can respond to discontent. It can reform. But indifference, well, that's a much, much deeper problem.
Think about it. Anger is a form of engagement. It's a signal you're sending to the system that says, hey, this is broken, fix it. It demands a conversation. It demands a response.
But silence sends no signal at all. The system gets no feedback, it just assumes everything is fine, and so the underlying problem is allowed to fester, unchallenged, and completely unnoticed.
So if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this. The belief that hard work leads to a life of dignity, that isn't just some nice little idea. It is the absolute glue that holds a competitive society together. And when that belief dies in the hearts of the young, that society loses its most important stabilizing force.
And that leaves us with this final haunting question. Anger is an argument with the future. It's a fight to shape what comes next. But when a whole generation goes quiet, when they stop arguing and just focus on getting out, does the future itself just stop listening?